Pisces Cup has been announced and will be held at the end of this month on the 26th of March. This is actually quite bad considering the Aquarius Cup literally ends on the 12th of March. This CM will also going to be our first CM that will be held after the introduction of the Trackblazer new scenario. So everyone will start from square one, learning about the mechanics of the scenario while trying to make the UMA for this long distance track CM. First off, let's start with the general information. This CM will be held on the Hanshin 3200-meter turf. The conditions for this race course are right-handed, spring, rainy, and heavy. So yes, on top of it being a long CM, it also got the heavy condition, and so it consumes you more stamina than usual. And with that, you know that we need a lot of stamina for this champions meeting. There is no hidden stats threshold for the CM, so you do not need to focus on any stats specifically. Now, let's take a look at the race course itself. You might be confused at what you have just witnessed. Is the Game Tora racetrack bugging out? This course is actually pretty unique, such that you start from the outer ring into the inner ring. As you can see here, if I click on lap 1 and lap 2, we can see it goes from the outer ring into the inner ring. But we do not need to confuse ourselves with that, so let's just take a look into the simplified version provided in the emulator. If we take a look at this track, it pretty much have everything on this course. So many straights and corner mixed into the middle leg, alongside with two long downhills on the race course. One thing that you might have noticed that happens on every long distance track is that the final leg starts on a straight, and that doesn't change with this champion meeting as well. Now, since the final spurt start on a straight, that means straightaway spurt is once again your best friend. This CM will also be our very first CM with Kitasan Black, and surprise surprise, they designed and released a strong UMA that specifically fit the race course right before the CM itself. Kitasan Black Unique is really strong on this race course as it will activate automatically on the straight on the last spurt. And it activates as soon as the last spurt starts and will give you speed and acceleration. So if you are running a front runner, then you must inherit this unique onto your kit. Besides the straight acceleration skill that activates the soonest, there is also the corner acceleration skill. But corner acceleration skills are weaker as it activates about 120 meters away from the straight where the straight axle has proc. I'm pretty sure some of you have experienced this happen on the Libra Cup Long CM, where the Uma who proc no stopping me and stereo spurt just straight up wins the race, and the other Umas just seems to not able to catch up with the corner excels. For the gambling acceleration skills like no stopping me on your left, they are always, as usual, strong when they proc at the right timing and completely useless when they don't. One more thing about no stopping me, since we do not have access to it anymore from the track places scenario, you will need to run the Yukino Vision card if you want it. The other acceleration like right shift and shooting for victory is really bad for the CM. If you take this unique, it will give you 0 value, so do not take this skill unless you want to waste your skill point for nothing. And with that, we can immediately see that for long CMs, it's currently favored toward the front and the enclosures. Front has access to Kitasan's unique and Seiun Sky Angling and Skimming, while late have access to Beyond the Other Side and Palm, and additionally, encloser also have access to Straightaway Spurt. Okay, with that, let's move on to the stats requirement. As per usual, 1200 on speed. Speed is non-negotiable as it will help you win during the last spurt. Now, let's talk about the stamina. The stamina requirement for this CM is pretty brutal if I'm going to be honest. The recommended safe threshold will be 1100 stamina plus 500 guts plus 2 gold recovery. You could absolutely min-max it with like 1 gold plus 2 white recovery or the 3.5% recovery inherits, but this also depends on the guts that you can get on the career. 600 guts will let you lower your stamina by a bit, while if you only get 400 guts or lower, you need more stam. However, if you want to just go the chopper route and close your eyes and be safe with it, 1100 stamina plus 2 gold recovery is enough I'm pretty sure some of you will try to go the guts build, but I think it's not viable for long distance as you need stamina cards in the deck. However, if you are forcing it, JP sources suggest to go for 850 stamina, 1200 on guts, and 2 gold recovery. I cross-checked this on the stamina calculator, and it fits about right as well. Honestly, for most people, the speed stamina build is going to be easier and more recommended. For the gold recovery skill, as per usual, Swinging Maestro is one of the best and consistent. You can get this skill from our one and only the strongest stamina card, Super Creek. Besides that, for frontrunners, you have options like Restless from the Maya Speed SSR card that you can borrow as well. However, if you are struggling to get 2 gold recovery due to the card's constraint, you can opt for the other options that I've already mentioned before by going 1 gold recovery and a 3.5% inherit, like from the Fantasy Quest Wonder or Super Creek's inherit. There's also the other option that comes with the Trackblazer scenario. Trackblazer scenario provides a really good scenario skill called the First Star. It gives you speed, acceleration, and stamina recovery. The stamina recovery comes at 3.5%, and so it can be a substitute for the recovery skills. This skill also counts toward the unique that needs recovery skill activation, like Summer Marzensky and Christmas Ogre Cap. So keep this in mind when building your Uma. On the debuff side, you have Stamina Sipon from the Manhattan Cafe. This will drain about 1% stamina per activation, which is roughly 50 stamina per proc. You can factor this into your planning, especially if you are sitting right at the minimum threshold, but I don't think it will matter too much. Other stats like power and width is negotiable. Get it as high as you can with your capability of the deck. And well, your time, as we know, Trackblazer scenario will be very time consuming. As for the decks, I will show you a template of what they run on the JP server first. Here is the first combination that is the normal 2 speed, 2 wit, 1 stamp, and Rico card. I know this is very unrelatable for the free-to-play players, and so you can substitute with this template instead. 2 speed, and this can be Kitasan plus 1 speed card that you have, 2 with cards, Marvel Sunday power card from the event for free, and a Super Creek borrow. Just keep in mind to meet the 50% raise bonus on the deck when you are crafting your deck. This was the free-to-play or the most accessible deck that the JP guy suggested. However, I'm pretty sure most of you will have a better deck than this. Although the templates are similar, you can adjust it to your liking. Alright, let's talk about the meta for this CM. Long Race CM and Final Spurt that starts on a straight always favor and closer, and they are once again a very strong style. However, we get another competitor for this due to the introduction of Kitasan Black, which now makes the frontrunner viable for competing in the long distance track, which was something very hard to do before her unique exists. Kitasan Black is a frontrunner Uma that is specifically designed to dominate long distance track. Her unique victory cheer will always give acceleration and speed on most long distance racetrack. Her kit is also designed for long distance with the access to the cool version of long straights and some other speed skills. She also has access to taking the lead as well, so you can drop the Mihono Bourbon Red card if you like for other stronger cards. However, Kito-san is a frontrunner, and at the end of the day, she cannot escape the fate of please get your groundwork spark from Inherit, otherwise you will suffer. And you are also a frontrunner, therefore, you need a friend to help you get you to the finish line. If you run Kito-san, she will definitely need a hand to abuse the mechanics of frontrunner, and therefore you need to run another frontrunner like Valentine Bourbon or Summer Marusensky. Kita-san also have a problem that you cannot use her own support card, but I don't think that's a really huge issue as you can replace the card with other cards like Fukukitaru, Narita Top Road, and Shinko Windy. This CM is also a champions meeting where Christmas Ogre will be very strong, but there's also the long CM's problem once again that we experienced in the Arima Kinan CM, where since there is no reliable recovery to activate her unique, you will simply gamble and pray to the Uma gods you activate the unique on a good timing to hit those acceleration. 777 is even worse on the CM since it activates about 300 meter further than the last spurt, so please avoid taking this skill at all costs if you can. A good gambling combination for pace may look something like this: Horny Recovery or Swing Maestro plus Gorman plus the Trackblazer Scenario Gold skill. With this, you can reduce the stamina requirements like crazy on Christmas Ogre. You can adjust accordingly how much stamina and the skills you choose to pick. Since the baseline is 100,000 stamina and 2 gold recovery, you can adjust this however you like. You could go something like 900 stamina plus 2 gold plus 1 white recovery. I suggest planning it out how many stamina you want to go for and the skills beforehand, since there could be different stamina on Christmas Ogre if you pick different recovery skills, and how many skill points you want to invest on the recovery skills. Some people might prefer overstamming, and some people prefer spending more skill points to cover it. It's up to you how you want to build her. Up on the end closer field, we have the usual candidates like Tamamo Cross, Manhattan Cafe, Marita Taishin, and Gold Ship. Out of these four, Tamamo Cross is the best end closer for this TM. Tamamo is simply the strongest because you have a very good unique that can give you acceleration and speed when you overtake on the straight. Not only that, she have an innate straightaway spurt, and that means you do not need to take care for spark inherits like the usual gold ship run. She also have the gold version of Tailhead High, which is Tail 9. You can build a very strong middle like Tamamo Cross and she will pop off very hard. Manhattan Cafe is there if you want to do a little bit stamina debuff checking. Norita Tashin is always there as the Mr. Potential Uma. We know by now she has encroaching shadow, but when it comes to performing, sometimes she goes missing in action. Last but not least, you also have the free-to-play God Uma for the long distance track, that is Gochim. I also want to point out an interesting fact that most of the encloser have a bad mal aptitude, and therefore they will have a hard time running a career in the make a new track scenario if you do not fix it. This makes it more challenging to train them to as long distance because you need to sacrifice some of the long sparks for the mal distance sparks. Every CM is never complete without a runway Suzuka existing. However, I can see the main purpose of her role shifting from an ace to a chariot or support role, starting from the next CM until the end of Shrek Blazer scenario. In the Korean server, people were bullying runway Suzuka from the Unity Cup because she cannot get her runway skill from the new Track Blazer scenario, but due to the gap with the new scenario that people were building Yuji Uma rank, S-Rank Suzuka sometimes doesn't stand a chance. It was only somewhat relatable to like the Giga Whales who can build an insane Suzuka from the Unity Cup to run her as an ace. So now, the main role of San Suzuka becomes different, and that is to mess up the acceleration for the fronts and speed up the room tempo for your encloser, or well, Christmas Ogre, so they can win the race. We've been repeating this pattern almost every CM by this point, so I guess it will not be big of a surprise like on the other servers where they experience it for the first time, since it was introduced to them on the first anniversary update. This will be the recommended UMA for each style. And let's start from the frontrunners. For the frontrunners, I've already explained about Kita-san in the Meta Talk section, so I don't feel like I need to repeat that. To pair with any frontrunners you choose, you can pick from any of these three: Valentine Bourbon, Summer Morosensky, and Satan Sky. They're all about the same strong, if I'm going to be really honest. The only difference is that Valentine Bourbon is the easiest to build out of all these three, since Valentine Bourbon has everything, like literally everything on her kit. The plan is really simple for the frontrunners. Just grab angling and scheming as per usual, and also inherit the new Kita-san's unique into your frontrunner of choice. And slam in the usual frontrunner kit like groundwork, taking the lead, and you should be fine. Pace Chaser is pretty weak this time around, or well, on long CMs in general. The only really recommendation from me is Christmas Ogre. She is super easy to build, has everything on her kit, and comes with Gourmand Gold Recovery skill as well. If you want to force a page chaser, certain Uma like McQueen or Agnastachion are viable, but I've seen a pretty poor performance during Libra Cup from these horses. Therefore, I don't really recommend running them. You'd be better off just putting cold chip and call it a day if you want to win more. Late surger is always late gamblers and it never changes most of the time. You hope your exertion pops off and you win. You just get on your left, no stopping me, Dober and Palm inherit, and pray to God you hit them and pop off. But just know that since these acceleration also activates on the corner, they are also delayed and the enclosure might already fly to the finish line before you even activate your acceleration. The UMA recommendation for late surger is yeah, I do not really recommend running late surgers. I think both pace and late surger is pretty bad for DCM in general. Enclosers, which is the king of DCM, you just get your straightaway spurt and maybe daring strike if you can and simply just win the game. I've already mentioned the meta Umas for Encloser and it doesn't change on the list here. All four Umas I've mentioned before are all viable and totally usable and will carry you to win the CMs. For the team composition on the CM, there are a few main routes depending on your roster. The first option is the classic long CM setup, that is the runway frontrunner as a chariot to set the pace, plus two of your aces. Your runaway will always be Suzuka, and then you have pace chaser like Christmas Ogre and encloser like Tamamo, or Narita Taishin or Gold Ship as your backline aces. This is probably the most stable composition, or, well, you can also run to encloser and it's fine, and just simply hope that your Christmas Ogre or your encloser procs their acceleration and win the game. The next setup is for the frontrunner lovers, 2 frontrunner plus 1 ace. You pull the pack away with Kitasan and Valentine Bourbon, for example, and create the pace for your gold chip to win the race, just in case your front flops somehow. And the last setup is always the secret technique. I just slam in 3 Uma Ace and hope one performs and win the race for me. You can do something like 2 Enclosers plus 1 Christmas Ogre and hope it procs the right skill at the right time and win you the race. Overall, I think the Champions Meeting meta stays pretty much the same as the Libra Cup, with the only difference since then is the new edition of Kitasan Black, making frontrunners viable. So it's not totally just an closer wasteland where you see everyone running gold chip. Anyways, that's all for this video. The next CM will be one that differentiates the tryhard and casuals due to the small time frame between the new scenario and the CMs. Learning all the new mechanics on the new scenario with this limited time. Alright, thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next one.